Chip and Evan, Southwest Pennsylvania Rural Exploration Blog. We're back down here in Nemacolin, PA today, popular spot here. We've come down here for one reason. Patricia Ogden, good friend of ours, who sent us a lot of pictures and everything that we used on the website, mentioned that she would like to see the Nemacolin side of the ferry landing. She sent us a lot of those great photos. So what we're doing is we're coming on down the brick road that we stopped on last time, back in November. We're coming all the way down to where the ferry landing was. Really not a whole lot to see in the way of buildings or whatever, but we're kind of scouting it out and looking. From what we understand, there were buildings down here at one time. We're still on the brick portion of the road. Now this brick will come to an end here a little bit further down. So we're going to go down and try to get some pictures of the ferry landing that we can match up with the pictures that Patricia sent us, and give her a view of the area she remembers down here. Now, another interesting thing that's going on today, the sun's out, which we weren't expecting. As we tape this, there's supposed to be some snowstorms coming, so we're in a nice little window here.
It's like 57 degrees.
It's beautiful. But on our way down the road, we met two fellas who said they know where the remains of a helicopter is. Now, years ago, I remember my father telling me a story about a helicopter that crashed either in the river or near the river down here. From what I understand, it was checking power lines, it hit something, and it crashed. I forgot all about it. I asked a lot of different people about it. No one really knew about it. Well, these fellas that we met coming down the road are going to take us, and they said there's still some helicopter parts down there. So that's cool. We're going to see a helicopter crash site here today. Once again, Nemacolin, man. It's like the honey pot. That's a American. We're down here on the red brick road. Now, we're further down than we were on the November video. And actually, we're kind of, if you walk down this road, the river's over here to our left, and they kind of, come parallel together. Like we said back in November, this road is in remarkably good shape underneath a layer of dirt and a layer of mud. Kind of slick to walk, but the curbs are still rather intact. And you can tell where there were probably some buildings in here. Anytime that you see a pine tree in amongst other trees, you can kind of gather that there was something there. The Nemacolin School, a lot of the places up there, they had the pine trees planted. So you can kind of see like where there's all these regular trees and then a pine tree. So there was probably a building right there, because you might not be able to see on the video, but it kind of levels off up there where there may have been a building set. And so being that the mine was right down here, there was probably all kinds of stuff down here that, well, it's really hard to see. This is a great day to be here because the weather's warm, but the leaves aren't out yet, so you can still see, some stuff that normally you wouldn't be able to see.
What's a regular tree?
A regular tree is a non-pine tree.
Ah, I didn't learn that in botany. A deciduous tree, if you will.
A tree that's, but see what I mean? Like right here, perfect example. Now that's like a bush that you would plant in front of a building. That's not like a bush that would be there normally. And if you look behind it, there's a flat spot where there was probably a building behind there. Okay. And maybe some foundation remains. Now I think we're getting pretty close to the ferry landing now.
I'm gonna turn this off real quick. Okay.
Ta-da! We found it. The Nemacolin side of the Nemacolin ferry. In the video that's posted a couple posts back on the blog, we were straight across there.
Ronco.
In Ronco, PA, and you really can't see where we were standing now because it's underwater. The river is very high and actually expected to go higher. Like I said, we got some snow on the way.
We were standing right over there where that log. That's where Danielle, young Danielle, was lounging.
And right there is the railroad underpass. And once again, see, my theory about the pine trees is true. Those pine trees were surrounding what you may or may not be able to see was the remains of that water plant, which is where we were down underneath and all that. So we're right across the lawn from that on the Nemacolin side, which you couldn't see the concrete from over that side. We were looking at the trail over here, but this is where the actual ferry landing was. And there's some cement over here that looks like it may have been a portion of the ferry landing.
Now, if you remember in that one picture she sent us, if you go back and look at our blogs from Patricia Ogden series, there's pictures of like a building that was on the hill, and it was on a set of rails, and it looked like it would go up and down depending on the relatively height of the river, because there was no flood control back then. There was no, well, there were some locks, but for the most part, it's not as controlled as it is now.
So this would have been, if you look at that old picture, you may be able to match up what this was part of. Wasn't there like a little shack or something?
There was a few shacks down here.
Probably sat on here. See, there's another big piece of concrete there. I don't know what's been done with this area since then. Now, right above us is the old railroad bed. So, but this is the ferry landing. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start back up the river, and we're going to meet the guys, and they're going to take us to where this.
Yeah. Just and it's just sitting there, and no one's going to.
Yeah, if you're doing
no one's going to miss it.
If you're doing it at nighttime, there's nobody really messing with you. So, yeah, but I'd like to buy those buildings before they get too bad.
Well, the way I
go, when they were talking about all that riverboat gambling,
I heard Joe Hardy bought a lot of property.
and the Peachin guy bought a lot too.
they would buy this shit thinking they were going to put restaurants and shit down here.